Spinning. You are live. Hello, everyone.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hey
everybody.
We are just hopping on here. Go ahead, Matt.
Now we have nobody on, but of course, this part is still important for anybody who watches it later, that they're not bored out of their mind in the first 12 seconds. So go, Jana.
That's okay. I am actually going to go to the group and share this in other groups real quick. So you want to talk for just a second?
Yes, I'll talk for a second. Hey, everybody. My name is Matthew Billington. I am with Big and Bright Inflatables, and today we are just going to do a group discussion with a bunch of manufacturers about the tariffs and the tariff impact. We are wanting to just be transparent with you guys and be open with you guys and express possibly where this is going to go, answer some questions. We don't have any secret messages that you guys are not seeing. I'm going to mute some. He's getting a lot of feedback. Okay, I think it was you, Marvin, possibly. So I'll unmute you when you talk. It was causing a bunch of feedback. So we wanted to be open and transparent. We got 16 people on. Chase says this is going to be some great info. Thank you guys for doing this. So just to introduce the people that are here, and actually a couple more have jumped in. Here we go. I'm going to moderate, so I'm going to try when somebody's really speaking to bring them kind of more forefront to the camera if possible. But we have Mark Slater, the owner of Tent and Table. Mark, hello.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? I think everyone on the call and everybody listening, I hope, is familiar with tentandtable.com. We've been supplying the event rental industry for over a decade, and beyond that, I really go back to the roots of being a rental operator. Our rental stores, which we sold this year, were 40 years old. So I've got 4 decades of rental knowledge and have ridden this roller coaster of our economical highs and lows many times over the past 40 years.
So I'm very excited to have Mark on here with us. By the way, there's 41 people now, so we're getting some traction. 46. I'm very excited to have Mark here because I'm not calling him old, but with 40 plus years experience, he can be the one that tells us, look, we've gone through this before. We're going to make it through this, and kind of give us peace of mind. So I appreciate you doing that for me off camera, and now everybody else on camera. Marvin is here representing HEC. I'm going to unmute him for a moment so he could say hi. You cannot unmute guests because they chose to mute themselves. You've muted yourself, Marvin. Okay, here you go.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Marvin. I'll introduce myself to everyone. I am the new operations manager at HEC. I'm not new to the industry. I had a rental company as well. So I've been through this as well. Right now, I'm on the manufacturing side, so things are a little different. So I'm learning just as Matt said he is. So
sorry about that. I muted Nick, so he's at a soccer game.
I'm here now.
Okay.
Soccer game hasn't started, so you're good.
Okay. Hey, Nick, we're doing introduction, so I'm going to mute you, okay? Okay. We are utilizing Nick and Jana for their platform. Between theirs, we have over 60 visitors right now. So Nick happens to be at a soccer game. This call is primarily for you guys to hear from manufacturers. But again, we're utilizing Nick's market. So if you're one of Nick's followers, thank you for jumping on. We're up to 73 people right now. And then, so the next one in order, just of list here, we've got Ian from Eye Candy Inflatables. If you want to unmute yourself and say hello. Evan, I'm sorry. I'm so
good,
sorry.
Matt. We don't know each other long
today. Sorry.
But I'm not from Big and Bright Inflatables, so I got that one right. So
you're not.
Evan from Eye Candy Inflatables, and until Matt came along, I thought we had the most creative inflatables, and now he's trying to Just kidding. Evan from My Candy Inflatables. Let's get down to business.
Okay, thank you, Evan. And then Alina, these are activities, and I can unmute you unless you muted yourself. I cannot. You muted yourself.
Hi everyone, this is Elena from Leisure.
Okay, all right. And last but not least, actually, hold on. Since we're on leisure, let Tim introduce himself as well. Hello, Tim.
How you doing? Tim Woodruff, Leisure Activities. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Tim. We're happy to have you as well. And last but not least, everybody knows Julio, I'm sure. So Julio, if you unmute yourself, you can say hello.
Hey everybody, Julio with Jump Orange. Glad to be here, and let's get to it. Okay.
So I'll let Jana kind of moderate from here. I did the introductions. Jana, have you been able to go through and get everybody linked in? Lavana, Party Rentals, Michigan. Shout out to James. Shane, hello, Shane. And Chase. Okay. All right, Jana, if you would kind of start, I guess.
Yeah, of course. First and foremost, I just want to really give a shout out to the manufacturers that are here. This is a great representation of the party rental community and how working together, it is really for the best of everybody. Education is really key. And there's been a lot of talk in the news and on the internet and, gossip in the groups about the tariffs and what's to come, and nobody really has any idea or clear direction, including the manufacturers. They're this is coming to them as it's kind of hitting the news and stuff like that. So I think that it's important that everybody kind of gets in front of it and tries to ease some of the worry or the frustration that may come along with the uncertainty. So I want to really just, give you guys a shout out for being here, for participating, and, for lifting up the community. Thanks, Mark. Loving all your shout outs. We've got Mark in the comments cracking me up. And even though, it seems like everything is changing almost by the hour, we're all still here talking about, what's to come. There was a 90-day extension issued for, I think, almost all countries except China. So that impacts the industry a little bit differently than it did but prior to that announcement being made. And so hopefully a couple of the guests tonight will, touch on that. We'll be able to answer some questions. We want to always encourage everybody to treat people with respect. They're here after hours, really just trying to help us have a better understanding. And so that's kind of the precedence that I'm going to set and the tone for tonight. And I think we can jump right into it.
Okay. I think the main thing that we just wanted to discuss with you is that we're not hiding from this. Okay. I think that a lot of comments out there have said, we haven't heard anything from manufacturers yet, and what's the impact going to be. And the truth of the matter is we don't fully know what the impact is going to be. We are maybe not as vocal at this point because we were waiting a little bit to see what is going on. And I think that wait's going to have to continue for a few days. I hope nobody else disagrees with what I just said there. But we don't want to run from it. We're unified. That's Jana. Thank you for helping us be unified and get on this call today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll let Mark talk.
Yes.
Mark me? Oh, okay.
Mark Slater.
Like I said, I mean, if I look at myself in the rental business, I mean, 4 decades of this, I've gone through the housing crisis. I've gone through COVID. Okay. What is going to go on with our tariffs? I think today, by extending 90 days to everybody else, and was a great thing, because I think one of our biggest, there's 2 people that are butting heads, and that is Xi and Trump. And I think now, since we've gotten some of the other countries pushed off for 90 days, I'm hoping that the arm wrestling match can start soon. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a disruption. It's going to be a bump in the road. It's not going to be the end all for anybody. I mean, I need everybody on this call that was in business, 6 years ago when we woke up and had to send everybody home and our country shut down. So, again, it's true. Chris Taylor, the event rental business is recession and tariff proof. Absolutely. And I'll tell you, some of my best years in the rental business were when we had recessions, because people were staying closer to home. They were doing events in their backyard. They may not have had the budget to go out to a facility to hold an event. Okay. With that being said, okay, you guys in the rental business, will we see price increases over the next few months? Absolutely. I mean, for anybody to sit there and say things are going to be as static as they were for the last year, that's pretty much impossible. But I also think, as people have inventory in stock and product is coming in, some of the tariffs will average out. And you guys may have to put your prices up a little bit, absolutely. But at the same time, if I'm selling somebody a high peak tent and it was $19.99 today and it's $24.99 in 45 days, and in 60 days it's $26.99, it's not the end of the world, because you guys are taking an item, and as long as you're investing into quality rental equipment, okay, you're making an investment into your business. Okay, it's another 1 or 2 rentals. Nobody likes paying the higher price up front, but at the same time, you have the ability to just say, okay, I'm going to have to do 1 or 2 more rentals to amortize and make my ROI on this piece of equipment. And it's the same with chairs. I, quite frankly, when I'm selling a folding chair, the rental industry is making more money on 1 or 2 chair rentals than I'm making on the wholesale. So the same thing's going to apply. If your white chair was $225 last year, maybe it's going to be $250 this year. But small incremental bumps in pricing, is going to be expected with any sort of crisis like this that's coming on. And I mean, right now, I mean, we're all kind of writing a new rule book. Okay, these are uncharted waters. Okay, but again, the event rental industry is one of the strongest industries, going. And if you look at any of the ARA reports that have come out over the past 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, there's consistently growth. And I was even looking at that about a month ago with the impending tariffs, when they had already come in after the election, the projection for the event industry was still positive and high. And I think that is just, to the new people out there, okay, don't worry about it. It's going to be an interruption, and it's going to be some speed bumps, but it's not a brick wall.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I don't think it is going to be a brick wall. So Chase asked, do you guys know about how much everything will increase? And Chase, there's not a person on this call that can tell you that 100%. The deal is, it has progressively went up. It went up in February. It went up again in March. Then it drastically went up 34 additional percent. The 2nd of April, and then it went to 104, and then now 125. But we don't know. It very well could go away in 2 to 3 weeks. We really don't know. And that's kind of why we've all been holding off a little bit on commenting, is because we don't know the answer to that question. Now, if somebody is willing to take a stab at it besides me, I will put you on the screen, but I can't answer that question.
Well, for one thing, I think everybody that is on this call from a manufacturer's standpoint, that has inventory in stock is probably going to say the same thing that I am. And it's not trying to say it to drum up business. Buy now. Okay. If we have
Yes.
inventory in stock, take that inventory. And, there may be things this year that you might have ordered from one of the dozens of manufacturers out there that they're going to say may not be available or something happened. Don't get upset. What do you have in stock? Okay. What do you have as a substitution? This is all, I mean, if 40 years of being in the rental business, okay, and everybody will look at Tent and Tables Design, and I'm kind of that core backyards, rainbow, retro, solid colors without a lot of bling. At the end of the day, when a kid is inside a bounce house or he's sitting on the top of the slide, sliding down, he really doesn't care what the outside of it looks like. He's there to have fun. It's an entertainment product. So I think, I have a lot of inventory right now. I know most of the people on the call do, but I'm also going to say is, don't get upset with somebody, okay, if they don't have something that you might have needed, because, we've all been in that situation. I think we have to, because I've already seen some of the comments that are out there, and this is ridiculous. I might not get this or I might not get that. I'll tell you something. From a rental company standpoint, over 40 years, I can't tell you how many times I've had very large corporate customers call me a week or two before an event and say, you know what? I got to cancel. Something happened. Our budget got cut. This happened. But because I was reasonable with that client, okay, I was able to maintain their business for years to come. I wasn't going to jeopardize them and say, I'm keeping all your deposit. I was going to roll it over to, next year's event. If it was a non-for-profit and something really happened, I was giving them their money back because, we are all in a relationship business here. We're in a logistics company selling products, getting it delivered, and you guys are in the relationship business, setting up relationships with your customers. So, as we see bumps in the road in either pricing or availability from a lot of our vendors and friends on here, I also want to say, everybody, we're going to need to be patient with that. Because again, I can't think of a lot of industries where we're all competitors, but we're also all on the same call with the same objective to make sure that, our customers are happy and we're supporting them and we're all working through this as a team.
I want to echo that. I'm very proud to be part of the group here, and I'm thankful to Jana to getting us together. But it is great to see us be competitors and on the same page. I want to take just one quick turn for a second. I asked Chris Taylor to jump on for a minute. He made a comment earlier about recession-proof. He's a large rental company out of Alabama. I'm not wrong, right? You're Alabama,
Yeah,
Chris?
that's correct. That's correct.
So I thought maybe it wouldn't be a horrible thing to get an actual end user, a company on here, and just speak to a second about it. And if you don't mind taking a look at Nick Hibden's comment right there and kind of, telling us what you think from a rental company's perspective. But if you'll introduce yourself and just kind of talk about being recession proof and then maybe comment on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, Nick hits it on the head, but also, let me back up. My name's Chris Taylor. I own a couple locations in Alabama, and we've been doing business for over 8 years now, 9 years now. But and the businesses that I have been in business for 30 plus years. One business that I purchased have been in business for 60 years. So, so these businesses that I've purchased have tested the time. But even you think about the tariffs, the percentages. I mean, we can go back to when container prices went to $20,000, and that trickled down, and we just made adjustments. We at one point we were buying bounce houses for a certain price. Bounce houses went up, combos went up, whatever the case. those prices went up, and us as end users and rental companies to these customers, I mean, we changed our prices. We went up on our prices. We made do. We were flexible on things, and you just.
Well, it looks like we lost Chris. I don't know if he'll make it back online, but there he is. Okay, Chris, we lost you for a minute.
Sorry, I don't know where I got cut off, but
you were on a roll too.
I was on a roll. So when in this event, you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to, and you've got to count the numbers. You've got to be on top of what comes in. You've got to be on top of what goes out. This is a time period that gets you a little more tunnel focused on the money's coming in and going out. Sometimes since we're seasonal businesses, we eat beans and rice in the off season, and then we're ready for steak and lobster in the season where it's good. Well, and sometimes we got to take a step back and say, okay, well, we need to slow down a little bit. We need to focus on making sure that we're banking some money and that we're cutting costs versus just free rolling everything and buying up everything. But I'll tell you one thing this is good for. This is a good time to sell your used inflatables. This is I mean, if there's a better time than when prices tariffs go up. I mean, this, not that we're trying to offload our junk onto other people, but things that you have that, that are not renting, that other companies may benefit from, or even smaller companies that want to grow, and you're able to help them out by selling some of your used inflatables. You can get a good amount versus what you would get if the prices were down. So I think being flexible in this time period is definitely key. And then making sure you're focused in on what's coming in and what's going out as far as monies.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you jumping on for a few minutes.
Yeah, man.
We did that. Somebody is highlighting this post. Who's highlighting it? And go ahead and comment on it.
So that was me. I think that Chris wrote, and anybody can really, touch on this. It doesn't. I just wanted it to pop up. So, I think maybe Evan, you might be good to talk on this one.
What am I answering? Sorry.
Thanks for taking the time to discuss this. While Nick is correct, do you know how often as business owners in this industry, we hear that as the solution is to higher prices?
Higher prices as a rental company or higher prices as a manufacturer?
I'm going to guess that he's saying as a rental company.
I mean, surely I have a rental company as well. And, we're based in Toronto. So right now the tariffs haven't affected us and or our purchasing yet, although we do buy a lot. Besides what we manufacture ourselves, we do buy a lot in the US. So as it starts to affect us, then certainly we'll probably marginally raise our prices. And as Mark mentioned earlier, even if we raise our price, call it $25 on an inflatable, that will pay off the rentals, I think, very, very quickly. I guess the point I really wanted to echo was, again, what Mark said about just being patient with us as manufacturers. There was a question earlier asking, what are the percentages that are going to go up? I couldn't even fathom the answer to that question. I had someone call me yesterday, ask for a price on a corn maze, and that was before I knew the tariff was going to go up 125%. Our cost nearly doubled. That price at this point, we can't even guess, because if I were to ship that in right now, the cost price is higher than the current selling price on our website. So I think we're just going to wait for the next few days, see where this tariff settles down to, and then come up with our new pricing based on hopefully where the tariff settles down. And we'll just support our customers the best that we can. We're going to need some. We're going to probably have to ask our customers to pay a portion of it. And hopefully we meet somewhere in the middle where everybody feels supported, because at the end of all this, we'll still be there. They'll still be there. And we all want to be friends and in this amazing community together.
Yeah. Evan, I'm sorry I fell down on the job and didn't put you on the screen right away. Earlier today when we were having a conversation, you made a point And this is not offensive to anyone, so please understand where his heart is and where our heart is. You made a comment today, so if you don't mind speaking on it a little bit,
Yeah.
You as a rental company or any other rental company, if one day you walked in and all of your labor went up 125%, or all of your insurances went up 125%, how would you react? And the answer is raising prices. So we really don't have. So can you just speak to kind of where your heart was on that earlier?
I think my point was that I was just looking at it going, we all as manufacturers are looking at this going, we were all dealt a very big blow. I was going to say earlier, or I felt earlier on, I almost feel like I'm back in COVID times. Like we didn't have this choice. We didn't choose this. Someone is saying to us that they are increasing our prices overnight. And if you have containers on the water or containers coming in, you have customers, you have sold orders, what do you do? And it's not an easy answer. So it's something that we are actually potentially looking to industry to say, what should we do? What is the fair? What is the right thing to do? And part of me putting that back on industry was the point that you mentioned, Matt, which is as a rental company, if someone came to me tomorrow, the government looked at me and said, you're going to have to double every salary. We're going to double your rent. We're going to double all of your expenses. What would I do at that point? And I said, I'm going to have to raise prices. How much do I raise prices? I don't know. So part of it here, I mean, I don't know how many people are online right now, but I guess I would put that back out to some of the rental companies. Perhaps people can answer in the comments. What would you do if every single expense that you had running your business was doubled overnight? How would you handle that for your signed contracts for events coming up this weekend, next weekend? And what would you do for anybody that wanted to book events 3 months from now? How would you handle it?
Okay. I'm going to put this comment up here, and if anybody wants to address this before I do, I will let them, because we get this a lot. Make it here in America, buy from America, build in America. I have a response to that for sure. Would anybody else? I mean, Mark, you've been around the longest. Do you care to make a comment on this?
Has anybody seen the video with the people sitting in front of a sewing machine? And there's a meme. There's like a 30-second video going on around right now. We can't. I wish, there's certain. First off, as somebody who has spent a lot of time overseas, and I think Elena can also chime in on this. It's challenging because even countries in Southeast Asia have gone through labor shortages. It's more difficult to get workers, okay? And there has been a huge investment made into modernizing factories over there, okay? Because they suffer from the same issue we do. But even at the end of the day, okay, prior to COVID, people in my warehouse were $10 to $12 an hour, okay, to put something in a bag for UPS. Now they're $20 to $22 an hour, okay? And somebody just said, oh my God, sewing is so terrible. U.S. had a huge textile industry. Absolutely, it did. But Elena could share with you that just cost to economy, we can't, there's a lot of things. If I had to make my folding chair, okay, here, and someone might say, oh, Palmer Snyder does, or this or that. Palmer Snyder's chairs are coming out of Taiwan, and they even cost more. That chair at American standards right now might cost $15 to maybe $20 retail, and I will say it had during the election, had somebody said, the government is going to subsidize tentandtable.com with $5 million, okay, at a great grant, not even a grant, an interest rate, and I could pay it off over 30 or 40 years. My successors, I'm getting too old for that. You know, I might have sat there and said, what can I do to bring back stuff to start manufacturing here? But you know, the hardest thing is everyone out here in the rental industry, by a show of hands, do you guys all have excess employees? Does everybody show up all the time? We have a labor issue in the United States just as they do in anywhere in the world. So unfortunately, there are certain things that, you know, electronic manufacturing and microchips that I think are easy to bring back to the US for manufacturing. But, you know, we're talking about inflatable games. I'm talking about tents, you know, 300-pound pieces of vinyl. Everything's handmade. You know, unfortunately, you're not in an industry where you can have robotics doing everything. You know, these are handmade, hand sewn. Yeah, exactly. My electric dolly shows up every day. And in, you know, Elena, have you come up with a robotic machine that can cut and sew and seal the games? Unfortunately, we are going to be tied into a lot of the Southeast Asian countries. It could be Mexico, maybe it's another country in South America, but it's got to be countries that have a lower labor rate than we do for the handmade products that we all rely on. And whether it's a jacket or a bounce house, it's all handmade.
I'm going to chime in here just real quick because I'm reading a couple of comments. I'm getting a couple of private messages for people that aren't able to comment, and there's a couple of things that probably should get a little bit of attention that are in the chats. But and this is probably going to be a question that I'll just direct to Mark again. Mark, can you explain, because people are saying that they don't understand, can you explain what 125% tariff actually means? What does that mean, you know, as a manufacturer? Is that 125% increase on, you know, the cost of the product, the supplies to build it, or, you know, can you give a little bit of clarification for those that don't understand exactly what a tariff is and what it, you know, what it applies to, what the 125% rate?
It's non-sustainable, but I don't think it's going to stick around much longer. I mean, it's great that I think it's great that we're having this meeting now, but, you know, it's Wednesday night. Liberation Day was Thursday of last week. You know, I was told, and I haven't looked at the news, I was told that Amazon has stopped all orders from China. So if Amazon has stopped all orders from China, next it'll be Costco, next it'll be Walmart, and I think within the next week we are going to have, you know, 2 leaders in a room, okay, arm wrestling, okay, and there's going to be some compromise. It's got to happen. I mean, I don't see how it can't. Grant said also, Mark, when you see these tariffs, who and where do you see the cost being forwarded to, and what percentage of that cost is forwarded to the customer? You know what? Great question. I don't think any of us know that yet. Okay. You know, if I run out of a white chair, okay, my white chair coming in, okay, might be dutied at 125%. What am I going to do? I'm going to look at my last 4 dutiable invoices and I'm going to average it. Things have to be done on an average so that you can maintain some sort of civility in this whole thing. Okay. But again, I don't think there's any perfect recipe for it yet, because we're really, all of us are in uncharted territory right now.
So somebody needs to mute themselves. It just got really loud. Ooh, okay. So thank you, Mark, for explaining a bunch of different things there. To answer Jana's question directly, though, hypothetically, if a unit cost $1,000 from the factory, when it crosses into the US, the manufacturers will pay an extra $1,250 to the US government, making our total price before shipping or anything else, $2,250 that used to be $1,000. Okay, so it is significant. That's the question you asked, right, Jana?
Yeah.
So, just put it in simple terms, it is doubling the cost, more than doubling the cost of the product. And I think we'd all agree that that is just obscene, and the margins aren't there to even eat or contemplate eating all of it. So it is.
And I think that is really, what needs to be clear in this call, in this live, in this message, is that from goods coming from China are basically doubled. I did just get a notification on my phone, and I didn't read all the fine print, but it said that Canada and Mexico, I think, Trump pauses most global tariffs, but changes nothing for Canada and Mexico, where I think earlier today he was going to let them, be part of the 90-day pause, and it looks like he may be backpedaling on that. Again, I haven't read all the details, so don't quote me. It did just pop up on breaking news on my phone, though.
Sorry, I just want to also comment. I just saw a comment come up from John Snyder about doubling the cost. We're not doubling the selling cost. It's doubling the cost to the manufacturer. So I don't want to be going to $8,000, and no one's contemplating that, at least unless Trump comes out tomorrow and says he's going to do the 400% tariff that someone else suggested on CNN this morning. It's the actual cost of the inflatable that is going to go up.
Sure. I see Jessica in the comments here a little bit, so I'll let some of you guys reply to Jessica, but I'll also reply to Jessica. Jessica, the reality is that nobody, at least in this industry, could set up quick enough or fast enough to maintain the amount of product that they need in the United States. The raw material comes from China and possibly another, couple of countries as a source, but in the grand scheme of things, in a 3 or 5 or 7 or 10 year span, that may very well be a reality. But in the interim, there has to be, some kind of solutions or improvisations or whatever to get us through, right? And so she had said, in the USA, make them in the USA. Tariffs are used as a bluff to get better deals. That's the theory. She also said automation can be used to make these. Nobody was talking about Jessica, so it's a great opportunity to keep prices the same or lower them. There's no way that at this point with these tariffs, and I'm not even a manufacturer, that anybody could keep their price the same at 125% tariff or lower them without taking a serious financial hit to their company, probably to their staff, to their employees, to their factories. I mean, these guys on this call aren't millionaires, and I don't think that that's any secret. So I think that the biggest thing is for us as a community to realize that the impact at 125%, and if it continues to go up, could be detrimental to some of these businesses, at some point. And as a community, we shouldn't expect the manufacturers to carry the weight of all of this.
Jana, do you care if I jump in?
Nope. Go ahead.
Who else is talking?
That was Chris Taylor. Go ahead, Nick. You go. I already talked.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't said anything yet. I'm at 13% battery, and the soccer game just started. So I did want to address, though, the people that are saying make the inflatables in the USA. I'm in a public space, so I've got to watch my language. But where the fuck do you think we're gonna make them? Like, you want to bring all of the manufacturing over here and put it where? I don't understand. Like, you're just saying something that's like got a good ring to it. Like, there's no forethought to that statement. So if you really, really, really want inflatables to be made here in America, guess what? You're an entrepreneur. Go make them yourself. Go open your own factory. Why don't you go research it and see what it costs to make them in America? To bang on the people that, you know, support everything we do, because I'm not a manufacturer, right? I'm a rental business. To bang on them for building them where the factories are and where the people are the best in the world at making inflatables is wild to me. And for that narrative to just go on and on and on and on, I was biting my tongue because I didn't want to interrupt anybody. But it's a mindset that puts you into a victim mode where you're just waiting around for somebody else to do something. If you want to do it, go do it.
Also, Brian says on here, so this is something we actually don't know the real answer to yet until we say how it works out over the next 90 days. Brian, that unfortunately isn't true. So for some countries, including China and some manufacturers, they have containers on the water already. So if this 125% tariff stays in effect as those containers come into wherever they come into customs, they will be forced, in order to retrieve them, to pay that 125% tariff. That is specific to China. It looks like whatever is in place for Canada and Mexico may be, you know, being held to that. You know, I don't know what theirs were, but this isn't a 90-day thing, at least for the manufacturers that have containers that are supposed to be showing up, you know, in the next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. This is a really pressing, very stressful. I'm all red because I'm stressed out about it for them.
Jenna, there is one option. We can turn the containers around and you can send them back to the factory and or delay shipping.
So, you know,
I actually asked about that today and I was told, no, they're too far along. I wasn't going to probably do it, but I was tempted. They said that it would come through customs. I'd have to pay and then they'd send them back. So there was no way for that. Every single one of us manufacturers on this call today has multiple containers on the water that if they cross before something is resolved, then we're going to be paying more than double what we expected to when we placed the order or even when it shipped.
But you know what? Tomorrow, when everybody on this call wakes up, okay, everybody that's on this call has some inventory in stock somewhere, okay? So again, we are primed for our season, okay? We are entering our season and we're getting busy, okay? You guys need to take advantage of the people out there that have inventory in stock right now and plan purchases. I'm not saying that to build sales. I'm saying that to, use your resources to invest into your business and get products while they are, there's not a person on this call that's going to hang up this phone and go to their website tonight and say, based on this call, I'm jumping up 20, 30, 40%. We all seem to be maintaining what we have right now while we're going through this period of adjustment, and take advantage of that, because at the end of the day, there's got to be some give somewhere. But, and I'm not saying this just for myself. I'm saying it from somebody who has a rental business to run and obligations to fulfill, okay? It might not be the exact flavor you wanted, okay? But buy something that you can get out there, get inventory, and make the best of this. Because again, party rental businesses do better in times of recession, traditionally and historically, than any other times. So what you have is going out the door.
Could I go kind of jump off of what Mark said? So what I was going to say earlier is and this is for everybody. This is, I think, a word for the manufacturers and a word for those in the rental business like myself. And for me, I love fear. And that's weird to say, and it's weird to maybe hear, but fear can be good. And you can, as a manufacturer, as Mark was saying, I mean, this could be a great time to just unload a lot of inventory and be able to sell things at the prices you want to sell at. People are fearful of what's going on, so they're ready to buy. In the same way as event rental professionals, there's going to be others in the business that or go, well, yeah, you know, I don't know about the long-term effects of this. I think I'm going to get out of this business. And then you can buy those businesses or buy that inventory from others, and not taking advantage of others, but fear makes people make some crazy decisions sometimes. And you can really, if you're primed, for the season, you can really take advantage of those opportunities. And it's more about opportunities. I think anything, whether it be tariffs, whether it be recession, whether it be the economy is doing great, the economy is doing bad. I think there's opportunities to be found in each of those areas. And I think going back to what I said earlier about being flexible, we have to be flexible to see and to pivot when those opportunities present themselves. And I think both for manufacturers and for end users like myself, I think there's a lot of opportunity that's going to present itself in the next couple months.
Chris, I think that was amazingly said, and I agree with you 100% as a 40-year veteran in the rental industry. And at the end of the day, every person on this call right now, we're all entrepreneurs, okay? So we just have to put on our hats and plunge forward and look at the craziest things in life sometimes as an opportunity. Might not be the best opportunity, but it's an opportunity.
Nice joke, Evan. I like it. It was worth it.
Jessica
Yes.
says, not as quickly as people are expecting. People are wanting these companies to completely drop what they're doing on Tuesday and be ready to open up on Wednesday in America. It's something that is going to take years to accomplish.
Okay, to speak to that for just 1 second, because I think we keep talking about that a little bit. I opened a factory 18 months ago in China, in an area where they have available workers. If I were to try to do this, and it took 18 months for us to get up to speed to be able to make 1 container a month, okay? It took 18 months to hire enough people and get that going. If I were to decide to do that in Texas tomorrow, I would probably need to go find $2 million in financing, find a 10,000 square meter building, which is 33,000 square feet. I'd have to pay for that. American workers will expect air condition and heat, by the way. And I'm going to have to do all of those things. And it will take way more than 18 months to get up to 1 container, because we would be starting from absolute scratch, teaching people how to sew with no background in that. And so 24 to 36 months from now, if I paid my employees only $50,000 a year on average, including managers, shop foremen, all of that, which is not realistic, not in Texas and definitely not in New York, I would still have on average over $2,100 in labor for every unit. And then you really would have an $8,000 combo after paying for the building and everything like that. Mark, did I say anything wrong?
You said absolutely nothing wrong, and that is the reality. I mean, we're a handmade business in a country where our manufacturing has absolutely changed. I think that was a perfect explanation, and that's the truth. And that's coming from somebody that when I bought my first bounce house a couple decades ago, that bounce house cost me $5,000. I don't ever want to spend $5,000 on a bounce house again. Mind you, there were less people in the industry, but scale to economy 20 years ago, that $5,000 bounce house was probably $20,000. So, yes, I got a little bit more for rental on it, but not enough to justify that type of price. And, you know, again, you know, when you watch the news right now, exactly. Anytime I've worked with a factory to get them up to speed, it is a 4 to 5 year process. Okay. And those first 3 or 4 years are very, very challenging. Okay. So it's not an easy process.
You know, and the reason I was able to spit that out so fast is because I've been freaking out and saying, can I do it? Is it possible? I've even been talking to people and running numbers, but the moment moment I stuck pen to paper on the labor and did the math backwards, where I'm at 18 months in, knowing that would take me 36 here to get to the same production level, and multiplied it out by the employees divided by the production that I get back, immediately when I saw $2,100 per unit, I said, it's not possible. It's just not possible. And Justin here says that it would be very expensive to produce here. He was a line manager for 10 years, and his guys made $25 an hour. By the way, $25 an hour comes up to 50 grand a year. And that's just the line guys. That's not the people, managing. And they were lazy and didn't care about quality. And that was on a $4,000 TV. Don't understand that part. But it's not possible, guys. It's just not.
So just for conversation's sake, hypothetical, and I hate hypotheticals, but we're having discussions here and a lot of hypotheticals. So let's talk about it. I think just as Mark mentioned, he said, we're all entrepreneurs. And so I trust these manufacturers. We trust them to make solid products, and they have. We all have products from all of these manufacturers. People listening on this call and people commenting on this call. You have their products in your inventory, and so we trust these companies. And I believe, hypothetically, let's say this lasts, for 18 months, 24 months, or something like that. I see where I trust that these manufacturers can find ways to get us products that are comparable. There may be some times where we have to pay a little bit more for things, but I believe in each and every one of these manufacturers to do what needs to be done. Now, what is that? There's a lot of details that goes into that. Do they find different manufacturing sites in other countries? Do they plan to ship things to other countries, unload them, and then ship them from those countries? There's a lot of different things that that these manufacturers can do. But I think at the end of the day, as a rental company, we trust these manufacturers to provide great products. So I think we should also trust you guys to provide us with sound stuff in the future, even if this does tarry.
And Chris, I really appreciate that, because when I look at it and I look at what we went through years ago when COVID hit, and I look at my operational costs, my labor costs, and everything else that went into those 4 years, okay, my prices did not go up in accordance with what my expenses did. Yes, my business grew, but at the same time, when my labor went up and my expenses went up, I understood that there's a threshold that everybody's got to be able to follow and be happy with. So back then, my profits, COVID years might have been a higher profit. This year it's a lower profit because all of my expenses went up. But I'm going to continue to do that because, we sit there and, again, you've got manufacturers. There's not a lot of industries where competitive manufacturers would get on a call, share ideas, and sit down at a round table like this and express the concern that, we want to make this work for everybody, But yes, there are going to be some changes. But, guys, we're in the same boat you are. I wake up in the morning. Actually, the past few days, I'm waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and looking at my phone saying, what the heck happened? But, we're all in this boat together, and we're going to ride the storm out. But I'll tell you, the storm's gonna end. There's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. There'll be some adjustments, but I can guarantee you that everybody that's on this call right now has the same commitment to their business as all of the manufacturers do, as you guys do. So I think that I would love to see a call like this again in another 14 days so we can give more information, because whereas a lot of answers may not have been placed yet, we're still in a phase where we don't know what's going on.
I agree. I think, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Garrett here says that, this is, no, you're doing great. I think that there needs to be clarity that the tariffs of foreign nations is not a brand new economic problem. And at the past, this is not a long-term situation, and the panic consumers is not necessary, but the manufacturers just need to produce a plan to withstand the process. I 100% agree with that. We do need to come up with a plan, and that's what we're trying to do to withstand the process. And no, the consumers don't need to panic. However, the economic impact doesn't end the moment. We do need to make it clear to the customers out there that the economic impact will not end the moment that the tariff is reduced, because we will have this product in our inventory for a considerable time after the tariff goes away. And that's where it gets a little bit tricky, is the plan has to not only be what we do with the pricing, but what we do with the inventory after the tariff disappears, because it is probably a temporary situation.
And I think, we have, I have a poll that I'm going to post. I guess I'll post it tonight after this, because I think ultimately, manufacturers want feedback on if there has to be an increase, to set these tariffs, especially for the containers that are coming in, over the next, week or 2 or 3 weeks until, something hopefully changes. What is going to be the best way to go about that? Or what are the opinions on that? So you guys will see that come from us. That's something that we talked about earlier today. And to Mark's point, we are going to have another meeting. We are going to have another live like this when there is more information. But first and foremost, with it all over the news, right? We would see funny posts and jokes and stuff in the groups about it, but nobody was really saying anything. And I felt like it was really important for the manufacturers to get in front of you guys as a community and just say, like, hey, we don't really know what's going on. It seems to be changing like every, couple of days. And we don't know what the right course of action is or what the right answer is, because, when it goes from 30% or 40% to 125%, we're talking about a loss that, most of these manufacturers couldn't sustain for a long period of time, or couldn't sustain for, 3 or 4 containers. So we're hopeful that, something changes before then, and that we're getting the feedback from the community about, what they would do or what they would like to see, done in the event of, a price increase that would have to, be applied to, the IAPA orders or the ARA orders, or, whatever. As a business owner myself and, a person in the community, I don't feel like any manufacturer should be made to feel like they need to carry the weight of 125% increase that's really completely out of their control. So I would encourage all of you guys, when you get off of here, to really think about that number and how that would impact your business and your livelihood and your bottom line. If you had that kind of increase, in what you would do, or how you would work through that, and how you would want your customers to treat you or respond to that if you were in that same situation?
And Jana, I was just sitting there and doing some math, and I've seen 100% tariffs before now that I think of it. During COVID, I was paying sometimes $25,000 for a container. That was 5 times my container cost. If I had 5,000 chairs on that container, my chair cost went up $5. There you go. There's 100% cost of goods increase. But again, as markets settle and things settle down, so, and that was one instance. The amount of, I was spending some months, okay, $100,000 to $200,000 in air freight to get product in. And during COVID, my prices went up. They didn't go up to the point that one would think with a 100% duty surcharge on containers, because I used to pay $3,000 for a container. Within 12 months, it went up to $20,000 to $25,000 if you could get it. And if I couldn't get it, I would put it in the belly of a 747 and fly it over here. And again, eventually that crisis ended. There were compromises and things leveled out. And so my point of that whole thing is I don't think that there's any manufacturer on here that's going to try to pass 120% duty on to anybody, okay, that it's going to somehow be leveled out with what came in the past and came in forward. And I think we're all asking for people to be patient if there is a bump in the supply chain.
This is just off topic, but if I'm commenting because of the way we have this set up, it shows that Jana or Ninja, myself, and Nick are all commenting, but it's just me. I apologize for that. But that explains why Nick is answering manufacturer type questions.
I just was laughing because I noticed that, and I was like, oh well, it doesn't really matter.
Couldn't figure out how to make it stop, so I just thought I'd better fix it.
No, I love it. Garrett says, with that being said, did any manufacturers plan ahead for this and pack the warehouses with supply? So I think that just from an outsider looking in and it not sounding like a sales pitch from anybody, I know that, Leisure always has a relatively fair amount of inventory available. Market Tent and Table, expressed earlier that he was fully stocked. Julio is on the call. Ray was on a call with us earlier this morning. Jump Orange fully stocked. HEC pretty stocked. I know they have a couple of containers coming in as well. So Matt, I don't know what you're looking at for, inventory that you're setting on or that you're expecting.
So, being the junior member of this committee, I can only say I do have some stuff. I have quite a bit of stuff. It's not all the new stuff, unfortunately. The only thing that I can comment is that I have literally, I have everything that I could have possibly made based on supply chain and cash flow. I've never once had the machine not moving and coming in. So I don't have everything that I want, but I did my best to have as much as humanly possible at this point. And some of these senior people on this call definitely have more stock than me, and good for them. I did my best.
And I think that's important. I think that's a great question because in reality, Mark kind of spoke to this earlier. If you look on this screen and you look at these different manufacturers here, they're all kind of in different seasons of business. And I like that. I respect that about all of them because some of them, have a copious amount of experience with all the things that we're talking about. Some are newer, some have never experienced this. And then some are like what I call babies, like, Matt. So I think that, the way that this impacts everybody is a little bit different. Mark kind of alluded to it earlier. I'm throwing him under the bus a little bit. Mark is probably in the best position, because, not necessarily, I want to say he's the wisest, but that might hurt some people's feelings. He's just, he's got the most experience. I think he's got his hands in more things than everybody else. And, so if anybody is, going to come through this like a major champ, it's probably going to be Mark, and that is, that's the reality. So I just, again, I ask that you guys, show some grace and some patience as everybody navigates, the next couple of weeks and what happens, because it isn't the same for everybody. Everybody isn't built the same. It's the same thing, with Chris Taylor going on here and saying, like, hey, I've owned all these businesses or whatever. That's all fine and dandy, and that's great. And I love Chris, and he's a super guy. But, the impact that these types of things have on everybody is a little bit different depending on what season they're at, from the operator to the manufacturer side. So, again, I think that grace and patience is going to be, the best thing for us. Blaine from Bounce Wave is here, and he says there are a lot of loopholes and strategies that manufacturers and importers can implement to help reduce the pain of tariffs. Yes, prices may go up some, but for now, any price hike should be minimal. Even with current tariffs, we are paying close to as much, if not more, to import product during COVID. The recent decrease in fuel prices and increase in container supply has also allowed for freight prices to decrease, which also helps offset the new tariff rate. So, again, I think that in every level of business, every season that these people are in, they're all going to feel these impacts differently. So I don't think that it's fair to say, like, oh, this is, we're going to make it through and it's not going to hurt, because I know that isn't the case for everybody.
Listen, I don't want to be the voice of reason in the room, but I guess I have to be. I did not want to post Blaine's comment, but you did.
I was about to say, sorry.
So, Blaine, there are no legal loopholes.
Sorry.
Okay? There are loopholes, but there are no legal loopholes.
So,
Mark, do you agree with that?
You know what? I agree with that 100%. And again, and I'm going to sit there and say that the same thing that I said before, whether it's everybody on this call or everybody that I see at IAPA or the IOA show or the ARA show, we are very much a relationship-driven industry, okay? We have relationships with our vendors that go a lot further than a lot of other areas and things that we buy from in our lives. So, I mean, we're really all in this together, and that's why I'm excited to get on something again in another couple weeks and have a little bit more information, as far as what pricing is going to be and how things are going to be effective, but we just don't know. Oh, snap, here we go again.
Mark, you're getting famous like really fast tonight.
You're famous for getting beaten up. I don't know.
You're going to be an influencer like by the end of the day. Somalia pirates moving shipments of Big and Bright coming soon. I'm cracking up. No, and again, like, I feel like this is a great group of, manufacturers. I feel like honesty and integrity, is at the forefront of their businesses. They're great, people to represent our community. They're here to answer questions. They're here to talk about things, like that some people wouldn't be so open, to talk about. And again, like everybody, I guess I want to make this really clear, because everybody isn't in the same boat. Everybody doesn't manufacture in the same country. Everybody isn't facing these 125%, tariffs that are in place right at this moment. That could change in the morning. That could change on, Monday or whatever. But the reality is that 125%, and I keep saying this, is a crazy amount. And, it could really, impact somebody. So even though that doesn't apply to everybody across the board, that is definitely a reality for some. And so we need to be really open-minded when we talk about it. We need to be kind and considerate to those people that are getting hit harder than the others. And just definitely, respect and try to be, as transparent as possible. Because when I put this all together, I wasn't sure whether these people were going to think that I was crazy or, like what. And there wasn't really like any strategy to it. It just happened to be the people that were at the IOA show that I had the most conversations with, because you'll notice that there aren't manufacturers here. It's not because we didn't want them here or anything. It was just because we were all having very fluid conversations at IOA, and I didn't feel like it was appropriate to include other people that weren't in those previous conversations and just be like, oh, surprise, let's just throw 5 other guys in the mix and we don't kind of know where they're at. But everybody that was at IOA, that we had conversations with, we felt like, hey, this may be a good opportunity. This is something new. It's a great topic. Nobody really had a clear understanding of what a tariff was or what it meant or how it impacted or what that, that 40% or 60%, was applied to. So again, kudos to you guys. Definitely, you're going to see a couple of questions pop up in the groups. You'll see another schedule for a live, probably in the next week or so. Maybe there'll be some more faces. Maybe we'll just stick to this, OG crew that we're filming right now. But
Jana, can I just add one thing that I'm just going to say, talking about a strategy that we decided to come up with, is that we rerouted some of our containers to our Toronto warehouse instead of sending things to Orlando. And what that's hopefully going to be able to do is potentially stock or overstock some things in Toronto, because there was a question earlier about what's the tariff from China into Canada. And right now, as it stands, it's still 0. So we bring stuff into Toronto. It's only when we actually finally ship it into the US does the 125% tariff come into place. So we might be in a situation where, as our containers come in over the next few weeks and months, if it goes on longer, is we will overstock in Toronto. And if a customer wants something, well, then we got to figure out a way to creatively figure out how we get that out, or split it, or figure out something with the tariff. And if not, we wait until the tariff comes down and, or God willing, is eliminated, and we will have it and be able to ship it over the border next day or 3 days or 5 days, whatever the shipping is to that particular area.
And Evan, that does not mean I'm going to meet you in Fort Erie and we're going to load up my pontoon boat and bring it over to the other side in Buffalo. We discussed that earlier, but
I was about to say that joke is just as funny as the first time you said it.
Hey, you got some extra warehouse space up there?
Yeah, bring it over. Right now we've got, and for any Canadians online, we have HEC products already in the warehouse ready to go. So, we can have big and bright also.
Does anybody else on the live or on Facebook, does anybody else have any questions, anything that they want to, there's some comments that I'm just not going to read. So you can read through them if you choose, but I'm not, we're not here to, be crazy. Those who won't compromise their morals and can do, yes. So, and that, Emily, I think is, you kind of hit it on the head there. I can definitely appreciate the transparency, and also appreciate those who won't compromise their morals and will continue to do business ethically. Hopefully this will straighten out soon. I couldn't agree more. Like I'm sure you guys have heard, and it's, there's ethical people and unethical people in every industry. There's loopholes, in every industry. But typically, you know, when you try to cut corners or you try to, you know, circumvent the process or, you know, whatever, those usually come back to bite you in the butt, whether it's you or it's your customers or something like this. And so I think that that's what this group of people are here is really just to, you know, to be honest that they're going to, you know, continue with business as normal, but they're going to have to really reevaluate things if this tariff, you know, holds or increases specifically to China. So, you know, just again, keep an open mind. Know that, you know, this is a representation of some of the best in the industry. And it is, you know, 7:45 in Florida here on a Wednesday night. And they're here to answer your questions, to show face, to be transparent, because as much as the rental industry is wanting to know, like, hey, what's going on? What does this mean? You know, these guys, Mark just said, you know, he's up at 3:00 in the morning looking at his phone to see if anything changed in the last 24 or 48 hours, because they're definitely losing, you know, some sleep as well.
You know, if I can step in real quick to Jenna's point, you know, in a manufacturer's perspective, we really just want to make sure that we hold the line and we, you know, provide good service, good quality inflatables. I'm proud to be part of this group because a lot of the people here, a lot of the manufacturers here, we all have a little bit something different within this industry, within our niche. So for those people tuning in, make sure that you guys are able to place your orders now. A lot of the manufacturers here right now, you have Leisure, HEC, myself here in Florida, Matt in Texas, Evan, Canada. You know, take advantage of, while we're still doing some promotions, we're still doing some sales. For us, we really don't want to have to raise our prices. We want to make sure we hold everything. You know, right now we're at the season. We're at the peak of the things. We got Easter coming up. We got 4th of July coming up. So right now we're just at a day-by-day basis. For all we know, tomorrow we could just wake up and laugh at the conversation and, you know, that we just had right now. But I am proud to be part of this group where we are able to be, you know, we're able to go ahead and inform all the people that are tuning in, because there's a lot of people out there in the industry that have no idea what's going on. And you guys are taking advantage of being able to be a part of this group, this forum, in a way that Jenna, you know, was able to go ahead and organize. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And any questions you guys have, please feel free to ask. I mean, we try to be as upfront about everything. We're going day by day ourselves. But whatever it is we can do for you guys, answer anything, you know, we're here to help.
So Stephen Moore just said, are you guys going to reduce your sales goals, or what is your plan to keep selling?
I mean, at least for I can't speak for anybody else, but I mean, at least for our perspective, we just want to make sure if you like any jump orange items, or anybody else for that matters, reach out to them, ask them. I'm sure they're running some type of promotion or something. But at least for us, if you're in California, if you're in Florida, you're more than welcome to stop by at our locations, or we can ship anywhere you want.
Yeah, Stephen, I think that I can't speak for everybody, but I know at least a handful of the manufacturers on here still have their IOA pricing in effect until Friday. So if you're in the market for inflatables, you know, definitely seize the moment, because we don't know, you know, what obviously we've seen a bazillion changes in a very short amount of time. And, you know, as quick as Trump has paused for 90 days, he could rescind that, because I mean, that's basically the behavior that we've seen. So I wouldn't, you know, bet on anything super solid right now. And the main concern, you know, in this exact moment during this exact live is that right now there is 125% tariff on things coming in from China. And there are a handful of manufacturers that are expecting containers to come in the next couple of weeks. That is, I mean, that's the reality, and that's a scary reality, for at least for me. I don't know, maybe these manufacturers aren't scared, but I'm scared for them because I care about them, and I know what 125% increase, you know, to my business would do to me. And so, just to make Kevin McCoy happy, I just want to see my name pop up on the cool little bubble chat. That's pretty cool. Hey,
Very
Kevin.
nice. Hey,
Thanks.
everybody, I'm sorry. I am going to have to go. Okay.
Date.
I just got a text.
Dinner.
If you see it, it says bad daddy. I've got a very upset little Maltese upstairs, and we have dinner reservations in 10 minutes. So I apologize if I have to bail, but I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. And again, everybody probably has me on Facebook. If you have any questions and one-on-one questions you need, let me know. And again, I think myself and as Julio just said, we're in stock with a lot of products, so we'd love to hear from you. Thanks, guys. And I apologize if I'm jumping off soon.
Mark, I just wanted to thank you so much for getting on the call. I really personally appreciate it, and I know the rest of us do as well. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, Mark.
Bye.
I think that's probably a pretty good point to start wrapping up for everybody. I know my wife also is probably getting upset, but if there's anything else quick that anybody wants to address, let's open up the mics and the chats for one last second. But I think we probably all should start to wrap. What do you think, Jana?
Nope, I agree. Like I said, I'll post a poll in the groups for some opinions and some healthy conversations. And then we will all, our plan is to all circle back together to talk, and then we'll schedule another Zoom, maybe in the next week or two. Once we get some feedback and, we kind of see if anything changes in the short term. And just so you guys know, real quick, Mark Good popped up on this bubble chat thing, whatever. Although this whole tariff stuff is a mess and more for the manufacturers, I hope and pray it settles down faster than it's going up. I think we all need to relax and work with our manufacturers until this is over. Mark, I couldn't have said it better myself. I've been trying to say that. And this doesn't, this applies to blowers as well. I don't know if you guys know that, but a lot of the blowers come from China. So this is like outside of, just inflatables. This is a blower issue. We don't want to have a blower shortage or anything like that.
Okay, to speak to that one point real quick. We keep saying 125, and that is the additional tariff. Okay. So the 125, actually, there was existing tariffs on blowers. That was 27.5%. So blowers are really over 152.5% right now. So blowers, you could see issues with blowers if something doesn't change very, very fast. I don't have a ton, but I do know a lot of the manufacturers on this call have quite a few blowers. So at least for me, that's not going to be affected quite as fast. Sorry if I jumped out there.
No. I am super grateful for all of you guys. I'm super grateful for all the community. We had, over 100 and something viewers just on the StreamYard. That doesn't include Facebook. So again, just thank you. I can't say enough about how much I appreciate you guys, your transparency and your commitment to the community, in every step of the way, not just being on the Zoom, but, really supporting each other, lifting each other up, treating each other with respect, showing each other respect. And, in a competitive world, not making it so much about competition, because at the end of the day, I think we can all agree that there's enough business to go around for everybody. And, working together and, having a meeting of the minds and being transparent and, showing face and showing up, I think speaks volumes to really what this community is about and, what you guys represent in your own companies. And more people want to see your beautiful faces and more webinars or lives coming soon. So I will be hitting each and every one of you guys up, and I expect the answer to be yes. And I know that Mark, even though he's not here, will be the first to say yes. Well, anybody else? You guys Evan, you want to say anything?
No, I think it's all been said. I think that I don't think anybody should panic. Everybody's got to do what's best for their business, and we're going to support everybody the best that we can, as we always have, and open, honest, transparent conversations to see how we can support each other.
I couldn't agree more. Elena, Tim?
My voice hurts from talking so much tonight, so I just appreciate the time and the opportunity.
We appreciate
I
you guys.
we agree. Everyone said already, so we're on the same page.
Awesome. Well, Mark Good wants to be a part of the next meeting, so I will have a talk. I will see if we can do a little bit more of this. I know that I work with several of these manufacturers. I don't really work with them, but I don't know. I don't know what you want to call it. Anyways, I've been pressuring them or mentioning to lots of them that I think that, these this wasn't really small, but small groups and, getting feedback from rental operators and stuff like this in this kind of setting could be very beneficial, for designs and pricing and promos and incentives and, all those kind of things. So I love that you guys are saying you'd like to be part of it and you'd like to see, more of that. Nick Hibden is about to place an order for a boombox, Evan. And you guys have a great night. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you guys. I appreciate you more than you know. And I'm here for you guys if there's anything that I can do to help, ease the stress of some of this.
Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Jenna, for organizing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to end the stream now. Have a great night. Thank you.
Bye.
Blessed and good night.